You're so needy. Good evening, everyone. So, Vogue magazine criticized Melania Trump's 2025 White House portrait, comparing her to a freelance magician. Well, it is true. She sure made Jill disappear. President Trump said he will send 30,000 illegals to Guantanamo Bay. They'll be coming from Philly, New York, and San Fran. So consider it an upgrade. Meanwhile, in an interview, border czar Tom Homan called Joy Reid dumber than a box of rocks. The American Geological Society has demanded an apology. Speaking of rocks, scientists have discovered an asteroid that has a 1% chance of hitting Earth, but it has a 99% chance of hitting J.B. Pritzker. Because he's really fat. I mean, seriously, look it up. Kamala Harris remains the front runner for the 2028 nomination. I know, that's some accolade. That's like being first in line at a James Carville kissing booth.
I'd rather be first than last.
That is disgusting.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. Disgraced ex-New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez was sentenced to 11 years in prison for accepting bribes. He appeared to be really excited about the sentence, but it was just a gold bar in his pants. Since the pandemic, American students have fallen further behind in reading skills. On the bright side, though, being illiterate is not an obstacle to success. But also, only 1/3 of New York City fourth graders were deemed proficient in math, which is great for me. I can now charge twice as much when I buy them beer. 15% of women in federal prison are actually men claiming to be transgender. That's according to the New York Times and that weekend I spent at San Quentin. Scientists are using genetic engineering to create mice with 2 male parents. It's all part of a bigger plan to create mice who love musicals. And on The View, Joy Behar claims the new White House press secretary got her job because she's a 10. Meanwhile, Joy is on The View because she's a ton. But Joy's right. Caroline Leavitt is a 10. But also 10, the amount of beers it takes for a homeless guy to have sex with Joy Behar. Not homeless, takes 100. All right, so right now the Democratic Party is finding itself in a very uncomfortable spot. And no, I don't mean in a men's room stall next to a very lactose-intolerant Bernie Sanders. No, the Dems are screwed because the Republicans have pulled the high ground maneuver by becoming the party of common sense, which means anything that might challenge that has to be the opposite, as in bat crazy. Because parties are about differentiation, and how do you differentiate from sane? See, by staking out the common sense middle, i.e. public safety, an actual border, cutting a bloated federal budget, the Republicans have put the Dems in the crazy corner. They're stuck, now at odds with basic truths Americans desire. It was always the case, but now it's really transparent. And if any Democrat tries to deal the common sense card himself, like, say, Fetterman, then you now look a whole lot like a Republican. Although most Republicans, they wear pants. So if you're the Dems, where do you go? The majority of Americans, they're ready to tell them. The latest poll has the Dems at 31% approval. Can you imagine anyone being that unpopular? I mean, we can do that too, Joy, right? You know who else wore white? Hitler. But at no time in recent history has the Democratic Party been more reviled. And they once ran this for president. So the Dems are stuck. With the high ground now so far out of reach, they need to find out what's left for them because their entire worldview has been rejected, like me at an ugly person's conference. And that's because the general public gets common sense. In fact, you could hate Republicans and still say, you know, I like what they're doing with immigration and crime and trans. It's just common sense. It's why so many new demographics have shifted right. The right gained ground with every voting bloc because common sense made sense. As a result, the Dems now have no way to dissent without being against common sense. Take the illegal raids. Sure, some lefties scream racism, but the public hears, wait, they're deporting violent migrant criminals? I'm for that, and I'm Mexican. True. You know, many people of color actually live in these neighborhoods. I know because I go there to teach at-risk youth CPR. And what about trans? Well, would you want your daughter playing junior high basketball against a dude who's taller, stronger, and heavier by 30 pounds? Do you think children who can't spell transgender should be having their bodies permanently altered like they're a suit off the rack at Men's Warehouse? Meanwhile, the odds of genuine gender dysphoria actually happening naturally are about the same as Nancy Pelosi's face. It has to be created. The common sense answer, supported by most Americans, leaves the left with nowhere to go. On crime, same thing. Whatever your party affiliation, common sense means you want your loved ones coming home at night in the same shape they left in, even if it is the shape of a beanbag chair. Is there anything sadder than watching liberal mayors and governors trying to defend murderers, rapists, and child traffickers? It's crazy. And what can the left say when only 6% of D.C. workers actually go to work? Besides, get your lazy ass into the office. Especially when thousands of government buildings sit empty like a meeting of the Jim Acosta fan club. Is there any way to oppose that and not sound like a nut and risk being hired by MSNBC? The truth is, the woke world took over the Democratic Party, and so common sense was there for the taking, and Trump took it. And now the Dems are on the outside looking in like Joe Biden at a mausoleum. See, the Dems can't be the other party of common sense. That lane is occupied. And it all happened because the Dems were in a competition to out-woke each other, allowing Trump to make it safe for common sense again, which means the left is left with defending things that are obviously bad for the country, which now includes the party. Let's welcome tonight's guest. He's so rich, the pool on his boat has a boat. Shark Tank star Kevin O'Leary. He's got lots of voices in his head and zero choices in his bed. Comedian Tyler Fisher. She'll criticize the Fed's actions in between her contractions. New York Times bestselling author. And doctors use a wrecking ball to test his reflexes. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, and former So, Kevin, this is an interesting, outcome of this election. So, a successful company in even a modestly crowded marketplace has to have a point of difference. It has to differentiate itself. So how can this company, the Democrats, do that when they have to differentiate themselves from something as broad and meaningful as common sense? What do they do?
It was a brutal outcome. I always thought that evening, which I thought was amazing, I was watching this stuff happen with everybody else, and I thought, you know, when America gets really screwed up and it just makes no sense to anybody, it fixes itself like that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. Maybe you like Trump, maybe you don't, but here we are. We're fixed.
Yeah.
And then for those guys, they're screwed.
But what if, I mean, Trump won, and were you confident he would win? Because what if Kamala had won, none of this would be happening.
I was worried about the tax rate, frankly. That was the problem for me. I was thinking, am I going to go home tomorrow morning up 40% in taxes? That would be bad.
Yeah.
So I was hanging out right till 2 in the morning saying, this is good.
You truly are a man of the people.
I think so.
Yes, good for you.
So.
Tyler, you don't even know what a tax rate is. You have to make money for that. We'll explain it later.
Wow.
All right. I'm joking. I love the fact that you shaved and cut your hair. Now you look like a leprechaun with a job.
Ooh,
Yeah.
short guy battle. Go.
But by the way, do you think the Democrats can actually find a lane? I don't see how it's possible.
No, it's not possible. I'm sorry. I'm looking at Kevin's 2 watches. I feel like such a loser.
Don't I look spectacular?
Man, don't tell me you're also wearing underwear. This guy. No, they just keep licking their own wounds, like you said. It's like when your dog rolls in its own poop, and then keeps watching Joy Reid. You know. But it's the DEI stuff. I love Trump's getting rid of it, right? DEI, right? Spell it. I call it die, right? It's gonna, right? It's doing a great impression of Biden. It's gonna die so quick now. But everything's racist, right? You can say, sir, I'm having a cupcake, and they'll say, sir, cupcakes are racist because black people, they don't have cups or cakes. And I said, what are you talking about? No, it's going to be gone so quick. And Kevin's going to invest $30 trillion. Let's do it on air. Let's negotiate on air. Into my career. $30 trillion. You watch it. You watch out for that.
2 watches. So, Kat, I have an alternate theory, which I think is likely to happen.
Okay.
The Dems are going to just wait 3 years, and then they're going to do this return to sanity, in which they say that Trump has gone too far. Because that's the only thing they're going to be able to do. Is, look, Trump went too far in immigration. He went too far against crime. That's the only thing they're going to come up with, and it'll probably be Mayor Pete.
I think it's really difficult to do that because I think what they've already done is I think where they went wrong was when they started talking about all the things you had to not do to make sure you weren't normalizing Trump.
Right.
So it wasn't enough to agree with them on some stuff. It wasn't enough to agree with them even on most stuff. It wasn't enough to agree with them on literally everything, but then if you have a friend in your life who voted for Trump that you're still talking to, you're normalizing Trump. And we all have been there where we have maybe someone in our lives where like you have to behave your best at their house to keep getting invited to their parties.
Right.
And you're like, oh, I better be careful. what do I wear? What do I do? And then when you stop just being like, are they even that fun?
Yeah.
Are they really even that fun when I can't do anything and I have to pretend to be a different person? I think that they went too far with that. I think there has to be some acknowledgement of that. I don't think they could just turn around and say Trump went too far because people are kind of tired of listening to their opinions of Trump when you're told you can't even you normalize. It'd be lost all meaning at a point.
Yeah, and once they found out, Tyrus, that America prefers Trump, all of that stuff has gone away, and they didn't like have a backup plan. Would you give them advice?
No. That's it. No, listen,
You can go now,
they
young
have
man.
they have to cut their king's head off. And what I mean by that is they've had many forms, politicians. For a while, they were evangelists. Everything was the Lord and family.
Yeah.
And then there was the lawyer. There was the savvy lawyer that was going to fight for your rights and stuff. And then they evolved the activist. And that's what we've had for the last 3 years, activists. The thing about activists is all they know how to do is complain. They can't solve because they're activists. So then when they're given problems, they're like, no, I only know how to complain about this. So what I'm going to do is every time you hit me with a responsibility, I'm going to give you a new complaint. So there's so much stuff going on. You're racist, misogynistic, this, that, whatever. there was so much stuff the Americans like, I can't juggle all the things that are wrong with me and still feed my family. What's the other side talking about? The Republicans, they at one time, you couldn't stand Republicans because everything was God, this, family, this. If you made a mistake in your life, you were done forever. You had to wear an 8-piece suit to lunch. We had, and you had to evolve to the point where now you can have your hat on backwards and wear one sweat leg up because you just feel like it.
Yeah.
So, but it's an evolution. The Democrats have to kill the activists because it doesn't work. America rejected it soundly because you have to actually know the job. The biggest problem, the biggest turnoff with the 10 is that she didn't show up with a 12-page notebook.
Yeah.
She could actually answer questions, cite laws, and come off intelligent and good for the job. And are opposed to the other side, where the only thing we know for sure is that the sister let us know that she was the first of 3 categories.
Yeah.
And the rest of it was nothing else was explained. The biggest notebook in the world with no answers in it.
All right. Up next, illegals set sail for a famous Cuban jail.
If you'll be in the New York area and would like tickets to see Gutfeld, go to foxnews.com/Gutfeld and click on the link to join our studio audience.